Now, there are some thoughts, additional thoughts, which will be helpful. One is, it's a thought from a book by Laura Huxley, the wife of Aldous Huxley, who wrote a book called You Are Not the Target. It's a small book, it's about 50 pages. And she has a number of very interesting and amusing techniques in that book for getting free from negative emotions whence they are stimulated within us from various reactions with persons. And one technique has the name of the book, You Are Not the Target, which means to remember that when we receive negativity from other persons, in 90% of the cases, we are not the target. This person has just arrived at a situation in which the negativity within him is more than he can withstand, and he can do nothing better. He doesn't do daily meditation or exercises or breathing or some kind of primal scream in order to get these emotions out. And so the only way he can get it out is to give it to us. And who is us? The closest person. Closest emotionally, not closest physically. So you get this out on your spouse, on your child, on your parent, on your closest friend, on your brother, on your sister. Wherever we feel safe to release this negativity. It's not that he's directing this at us. And after he gets rid of it, he feels great. And he says, "What's your problem? I love you. I haven't had any problem with you." Now, we don't love him very much, so because it's difficult for us to overcome, to not take it personally. So the first thing which Laura Huxley suggests is, don't take it personally. Just see this as a negative energy which is coming out of that person. The words may be directed at you, but in reality, the energy is not directed at you. It's just directed out of him or out of her. And you just happen to be there in the line of fire at that point. It's like that which we said about the hot potato. That is, this negative energy is a hot potato. He throws it at you, and you take it. And you don't want you throw it back, or you throw it to someone else. And it's this movement continuously. And this is what's happening in society. That everyone is taking these hot potatoes from other persons and throwing them to others. What we need to do is learn how to cool off these potatoes when we, so that we don't have to throw them to someone else, and to eat them and to absorb them, take out whatever lessons we can from them. The other thing that I would suggest is to avoid child-parent relationships with persons. That is, child-parent relationships have an inherent negativity in them once we have gone beyond the age of 18. Because from that point on, whenever we're playing the child, we feel suppressed, we feel lack of freedom, we feel negativity towards the other person. And whenever we get into the role of the parent, we begin to advise, to accuse, to demand of the other person. And these two this is not equality. The child, in transactional analysis, we have the parent, the child, and the adult. And so when we're communicating with someone as a child, we draw out his parent towards us. And we create this relationship in which one is more responsible than the other, one is higher than the other, one is seeking affirmation from the other. And the same when we get in the role of the parent, we put the other in the role of the child, and then he's not responsible, he's not taking responsibility for his life, not doing what he needs to do. And what we need is adult to adult. Adult to adult. So try to avoid, when we see ourselves getting either into the role of the child in relationship to someone or the role of the parent, to see that and to work on freeing ourselves from that, and to relate to this person on an equality level, adult to adult. Another thing which will help is to discriminate between the other and his behavior. This is very important also for children, for everyone, because everyone is in reality a child. And that is, I love you, I accept you. What is unacceptable to me is this particular behavior. To make this distinction, it's this particular behavior which upsets me because it stimulates my programming or my belief which says that this is wrong, or that I am in danger, or that I am demeaned when this is happening. But to make this distinction in our mind and make this distinction to the other person verbally, explain to him that it's not you that I'm rejecting. I don't have a problem with you as a person, but your behavior, this particular behavior, is a stimulus which triggers off my programmings. It pushes my buttons. And my beliefs are these, and my emotions are these. We will learn how to do that. Maybe we won't learn how to do that this year. We'll see if we'll have time. In the effective communication seminar. Also, it will help to remember and to realize our own faults. It's important, because otherwise we take a condemning attitude towards other persons. And when we remember our own faults, as Christ said, let he who has never sinned throw the first stone, and they all just walked away, this will be helpful in having a feeling of understanding towards the negativity or irresponsible behavior of other persons. That is, we are not without faults. We can understand how easy it is to be weak, how easy it is to be negative, or how easy it is not to be responsible, to get sucked into some kind of negative behavior or irresponsible behavior ourselves. And we're not perfect. And that realizing that will generate within us a compassion and understanding for the persons. And also to put ourselves in his shoes, put ourselves in his position. Just try to imagine, I am this other person. How do I feel as being this other person? What are my beliefs? What are my emotions? What are my needs as this other person? We have a technique which we use in the effective communication seminar, in which we ask each person to make a list of questions that he has for a person with whom he does not have a very positive relationship. And then, after they've made up the list, we give them the list and we ask them to answer the questions which he has written to the other person. And at first everyone says, well, how can I answer these questions? But inevitably all, if not, let's say 95% anyway, are able to answer these questions and gain a great deal of insight into what is going on in the other person. An insight which we don't want to have, because it doesn't serve our purposes at this point, because it's much more convenient for us to say this other person is at fault. And then we justify ourselves. So a very useful technique also would be, if we're in contact with a person who has negative types of behavior, is to try to put ourselves in his or her position and see, what am I feeling which is causing me to react in this way? Every being is an incarnation of God, is a divine incarnation. For him to react in that way must have a problem. There's no other explanation for his behavior except that he has some kind of problem. And if I put myself in his position, it would be much easier to be able to understand and to help him get free from his problem. Another thought which is helpful is a thought which you've said frequently, and that is that life is a school. And that each person that I meet is my teacher. And that's also the persons whom I have close relationships, but also the taxi driver and the grocer and every person that I meet. has something to teach me, either through various positive qualities which he or she admits, and then I see something which stimulates me to develop that quality, or through various negative reactions which cause me to find within myself a sense of power or clarity or forgiveness or love in that situation. Another thought, one last thought, is that life is in reality a dream. What do I mean by that? When we dream at night, we dream that someone is chasing after us and our heart is beating, and we experience the adrenaline of running. And then we wake up and we realize that we were not that person who was being chased. Or we have a dream in which we are the king, and we have harems, and we have money, and we have whatever we want to have, and we wake up and realize that we were not him either. That is, it becomes a dream the moment we wake up. As long as we're in the dream, we believe it. And our body believes it, and our mind believes it, and our whole being believes and experiences that reality as if it is true as this reality that we're experiencing now. At some point, we will wake up to this reality. That may be at the point of death, or it may be before that at the point of enlightenment, in which we realize that I am not this body who is going through all of this process. That I am not Bob. I'm an immortal being who has played many roles and is temporarily in this dream of 80 years, in contrast to a dream of 5 minutes, but it doesn't make any difference. The moment that is going to end, it means it's not real. Something which ends is not in reality real. Something which is real doesn't end. So, I am temporarily Bob. I am temporarily this body. That's sure. That's not philosophy. That's biology. That's sure. I am temporarily in this body, because in some 30, 40 years, this body is not going to be here. It's going to be feeding worms and trees and bacteria and other things. So, this is temporary. This is important to remember. This is a temporary situation. And maybe that will help us not to make everything a life and death matter. That is, whether this other person accepts me or not, or whether I succeed at this or not. That doesn't mean not to make the greatest effort that we can to create a positive reality for us and for everyone around us, but to not to have so much fear about the results, and not to place all of our self-worth on the results. That if we place two things on the results, our self-worth and our safety. Our safety as human beings is a lost cause, because we're going to die anyway. So we can forget about that. Next week, it could be one less, or 5 less. It's a waste of time worrying about that. Because no matter how much you worry about it, no matter how much you change your diet, how much meditation and breathing you do, you're going to die anyway. We're not doing all of that in order to live eternally, physically. This is a temporary reality. It's important to remember that. It's temporary. Because that helps us to remember what is worthwhile doing and what is not worthwhile doing. It's not worthwhile accumulating money, objects, fame. It is worthwhile cultivating that which I'm going to take with me. My character, my mind, my tendencies. Leaving, I will take that with me. And so it's worth cultivating that, and it's worth using every human relationship, well, human, also relations with plants and animals, whatever relationships we have, all of those relationships in order to develop our character and to develop love.